June is a month of powerful energies and dynamic shifts, which you won't want to miss as our in house astrologer and psychic Laurel Kassor dives deep into the what, the how, and the what not to do for this month's monthly cosmic update for June 2024. Welcome to It Gets Better From Here podcast, where we help divorced women rediscover their true selves, reclaim their power, and rebuild a life they're excited about. I am a founder, a transformational coach, and your host, Sherille Marquez. Please help me in my mission of positively impacting the lives of millions of divorced women and single moms by hitting that subscribe button so that you never miss an episode. Laurel, thank you so much for being here with us at It Gets Better From Here podcast. And I'm super excited to get into what is going to be happening in June, what to look out for. And I'm very, very happy that you're going to be giving us some cosmic updates because we just want to get ahead, or at least be able to figure out what is going to be happening. That way, if we're feeling a certain way energetically, it's because this is what's going on in the cosmos. And I just also want to touch on the fact that the importance of utilizing astrology in our everyday lives. So with that being said, welcome Laurel, our in-house astrologer and psychic. Thank you for being here with us today.
Oh my gosh, it is such a pleasure to join you in the studio anytime we get together. It is my pleasure to be here and help bring the cosmic currents updates to the listeners here, because as you said, using astrology is such a valuable resource in our lives, not just to help us understand why we're getting in a fight with someone that day, but to really understand the energy that moves the course of our lives forward. Because you know me, as I believe it, when we are aware, we can make way better informed decisions and really get to the bottom of what is driving and motivating us. So super excited to share the astrology of June 2024 with y'all.
Thank you so much, Laurel. Please break it down for us and let us know what to look out for, what's happening, our tempo, and I'll let you take it away.
Absolutely. So June is all about navigating stimulating energies and seizing opportunities for growth and transformation through connections, through messaging, through exchanging with ourselves, information, and each other. So let's dive into how these cosmic events are going to shape our experience week by week. So the first week of June is really like this big burst of new ideas. We're going to be entering the month buzzing with excitement and fresh perspectives. Around June 4th, you'll start to notice a surge of new ideas and opportunities presenting themselves. This is a fantastic time for networking, brainstorming, and having lively discussions and exchanges. You'll feel more curious and eager to learn, making it a great time to start new projects that have caught your attention or dive into subjects that have long fascinated you. On June 6th, we have our fresh start of the month coming in with the new moon in Gemini. And I do just want to say really quick, some people don't know this about new moons, but new moons open up a new 6-month cycle into our lives. A lot of people think they go from month to month, like new moon's intentions are only month to month.
That's what I was thinking. I was raising my hand there because I thought it was just month to month. So also, not to, sidetrack here, but when, we're done with this particular week, I'd like to know what new moon practices you have for suggestions that are.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, totally. But yeah, fun fact, new moons open up a 6-month cycle. So every month we're actually starting a new 6-month cycle in this very intricate, energetic tapestry that we live within. And so the intentions you set at a new moon, they come into fruition 6 months later at the full moon. So We have a new moon in Gemini on June 6th. And in 6 months from now, we're going to have a full moon in Gemini. And that's when you can really look back over the last 6 months and see how those intentions you're setting now are sprouting. How are they panning out? What do we need to let go of so we can continue that cycle to completion?
Thank you
Fun
for that,
facts, right?
girl. That's freaking awesome. I had no clue, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners probably would did not know that. So if they're going in thinking, okay, I set this intention this month and then nothing happened the next month, well, that's because it actually happens in 6-month cycles. Like you said,
Mm-hmm.
that
Yep.
is freaking mind blowing. You see, look
Isn't
at
it
that.
cool?
We're only not even 5 minutes in, and you're already dropping some gems
Drop in knowledge. And
and
so it
some
helps to
knowledge.
know that because it can help you set up your intentions differently. It's not just like a one and done thing. It's like each lunar cycle will span 6 months forward
Right.
into the next part of its own cycle. So it's very, very, very cool. So we have this new moon in Gemini coming up, and this is going to be all about rebooting communication and relationships with a touch of charm and balance because Venus is part of the new moon equation this particular month. But we do need to remember that Saturn has a caution sign up during this time, urging us to stay responsible and patient when hurdles pop up. So knowing that this is a 6-month cycle, we have to like imbue some patience and fortitude into our intentions that will kind of carry us through the ups and downs there. And the trick is going to be to find that sweet spot between excitement and sensibility as we set those intentions for growth and to kind of really spread our tendrils, spread
Mm.
our network, spread our social ability out there into the world. And so, as far as like a practice, I recommend, I'm a big fan of journaling, especially at new moons, because it really is very intention setting oriented. So, I really encourage everyone to like take a beat, think about how they want to enhance, upgrade, add a little sweetness to their communications over the next 6 months and how they can really invite themselves to bring more structure, more solidity to the equation of how they both exchange and receive information. I mean, Gemini is such an information oriented energy. It's very much about mental stimulation and exchange back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, right? And so reflect on what it is in your life that you tend to go back and forth on the most and set some intentions to like look at how that back and forth energy can maybe become a little more solid
Mm.
over the course of the next 6 months as you find ways to incorporate everything you're learning into kind of a solid, more streamlined structure of communication for yourself.
I just want to interrupt this video real quick to talk about something that is really important and super exciting, which is my upcoming workshop, Biohacking Your Best Life After Divorce. I am going to be teaching you how to heal the hurt, how to get unstuck, how to rediscover your true self and rebuild a life even better than before. I am going to be using concepts that blends science, spirituality, alternative healing modalities, and a lot of personal experience because believe me, I have made a lot of mistakes and I do not need you making the same mistakes because that's what the workshop is for. So make sure to join me. All of the information is going to be in the show notes for my upcoming workshop, Biohacking Your Best Life After Divorce. That's great advice. And for our listeners who don't really know what that looks like, could you give us like maybe a one-liner, as far as the intention? Because I want to just also ask you the difference between like scripting and present tense, which there is that, and also setting the intention for the future. So what's the best way to harness this energy? Yes, journaling already, I'm a huge fan, and there's so much power, pen to paper, so much power there. So as far as like what is the best way, should we be writing it in the present tense? There's so much
I
out
would. I usually write all of my intentions in the present tense as a piece of embodiment. Really harnessing, stepping into that version of myself who has erected strong communication barriers, and boundaries to make sure that I can streamline my thoughts and my mental processes. And so, speaking in the present tense is definitely a piece of the puzzle of like owning, seizing that opportunity there. And then also just very much, it's not just about like the things we write down on the page, right? It's also about what we do during that new moon energy. And so on that particular day, just be very aware of how you are responding to your emotions, how you feel about the thoughts that you're having, how you feel about the intentions and the relationships that you are initiating at this time, because that is going to be the energy that kind of like pings outward to the universe. So I guess if I were to boil it down, this would be to me really about like imbuing connections with sweetness. How can we imbue our connections, our understandings with more sweetness and stability?
Those are some great points that you made there, Laurel, because I'm thinking about how our community of divorced women and single moms can imbue that in their own lives as we approach the new moon, and for the next 6 months, ideas around co-parenting. Let's say you're a single
Mm-hmm.
parent or you're co-parenting with a toxic ex. Communication is key, and
Yeah.
so that is one area that you can really focus on and set your intentions. And what that looks like could be an example is, my ex and I found a way to communicate in the most healthy way. And not only are we thriving in our relationship co-parenting, but so are our kids, more importantly. So that could be an example of
A
all
great
of
example.
what you were saying. Okay, so something along those lines. And just for me, this is so timely because I have created a women's group, and I'm actually having a meeting. And at the time of this recording, it is May 21. My first meeting is going to be on May 30th. And so it's right around that networking. And what it is, it's actually called Fempreneur Tribe, because what's missing out there is the sisterhood, the community, the tribe. When you're going out into these networking events, virtual, that I mean, you can have so many virtual friends, but you still need that connection outside. So we're having two meetings, one virtual and one in person. So it's from the local LA ladies, and I have a group of 8 women, fantastic entrepreneurs, all on the same journey that we can learn from and grow with. So this is so timely for that, Laurel. Thank you.
So timely. And it's like, this is one of those moments where it's like, what came first, the astrology or the networking group? Because like, that's what Gemini does. And Venus can speak to women. Feminine energy, and so it's like this is a really opportune time to like set those intentions around networking, around, like I said before, like spreading those tendrils out in your local environment and neighborhoods, because Gemini is all about the go-between of what's immediately around us. So that is just like chef's kiss on that energy.
Seriously, spot on. And let me tell you something. I have been thinking about this for the longest time. Why on earth now am I, launching it with everything else I have going on? Which my signature program is also in movement process, starting the communication around that. And I'm thinking about the timeline, like you mentioned, with the new moon intention going out 6 months, because it's not going to be live until August. But I'm already starting the conversation now. Like, so everyone listening, please understand that astrology, whether you like it or not, is such a big part of our lives.
It is the fabric of our experiences. I mean, it really is I like to sometimes call it the source coding for anyone out there who's like into the tech or whatever, right? Like it is the coding that makes the program run, right? Like it's understanding that language is how you understand how to maneuver more efficiently within it.
Right, exactly. And that's why I love all of these alternative healing modalities. And, say with human design, there is an element of astrology in there. So
Mm-hmm.
it's very scientific, it's very calculated, and this is just a beautiful, one of the beautiful aspects about that whole spectrum, that if people just understood the power and leveraging it in their healing and their lives, and just the trajectory of where they want to go, they could just quantum leap. That's what I teach, and that's what you teach with your clients too, Laurel.
Absolutely. It's all about the power of harnessing and aligning with energy rather than spending all of our own energy fighting it. It just
Right.
gets caught in a vicious loop.
Right, exactly.
Yep.
Because I mean, everything is energy. We're energetic beings and vibrations, whether you like it or not. Just look at the cells under a microscope. Look at this. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
what looks solid right now actually is not. They're all
Mm-hmm.
moving. So anyway, we are not going to go there. That's a whole
Yeah,
other.
I know we could easily go
Oh my god! Yeah. So
there.
okay, that's week one. Freaking amazing.
Almost. There is one last thing on week one I want to
Okay.
mention to
Oh,
everyone, because by the weekend, there might be some tensions that are arising in maybe relationships, stability, or finances, maybe a little shake up there, a little tremor there. You might feel pressure to reassess your boundaries and commitments. So it's going to be important to address any underlying issues with patience and persistence, because facing these challenges head on will lead to stronger, more resilient relationships in the long run. Like I said before at the top, this is a month where it's like very oriented towards some personal development. There's a lot of interaction from the planet Pluto this month, and Pluto is a very deep diver. So towards the end of the week, we see a little bit of that interactions occurring. So like keep a level head and know that this is very much like this too will pass, because it's an active month, but always ups and downs through everything.
and that's just wonderful. And I love how you are just giving us, kind of like a bird's eye view of what to
Mm-hmm.
look out for. Because, guys, I can't believe when this airs, we're going to be in June. Okay. And
Mm-hmm.
the 6 month mark takes us to the end of the year. I mean, this is just absolutely perfect with all the advice that you're giving us. This is going to air June 3rd, and it's the perfect time to set your intention right before the new moon. Oh my
Mm-hmm.
gosh. Thank you, Laurel, for your gifts.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for giving me a space to share them with you. So let's talk about the second week of June. So as we move into that second week, the focus does shift to balancing our stability with a need for change. There's a lot changing around us right now. And so we really get this highlighted opportunity to assess, like, how do we find stability while there's a lot of stimulation coming in at the same time? So you might experience some inner conflict or power struggles around June 11th. This is a time for profound growth. So stay grounded and avoid impulsive reactions. We can channel this intense energy into constructive action that aligns with our long-term goals. Midweek, we might face a couple communication challenges. You can take a moment and clarify your thoughts and approach conversations with patience. Again, there's like a lot of stimulation going on, so it could be easy to jump to conclusions in the second week of June. So we want to like take a beat, take a breath, and make sure we're being very logical about what we're choosing to move forward with. By the end of the week, a sense of clarity will guide us through any lingering confusion. So this period encourages thoughtful reflection, which is going to help us to refine our ideas and our strategies. So there's like this little pocket in the second week of June that there might be a little confusion. There might be a little like, we might bump up against some resistance there, but it does seem to start to alleviate towards the end of that second week in June.
Oh, I love this. And because you know what? For those moments where you are in it and have no understanding why this is happening, you at least know that this is what's happening out there. And communication, from what I heard, is one of the biggest themes here. And,
The whole month,
the
basically.
whole month. Yes, that sounds very much like it in week two. And so if you can just have patience and know, like what Laurel said, is that this too shall pass. Just because here's the thing, once it's said, you cannot take it back. It's already
Mm-hmm.
there. It's like that. It was a Japanese proverb, like when you drop a plate and it breaks, you can piece it back together, but the crack is still there. That's the same
Mm-hmm.
thing with words. And please be very careful when you are communicating with anyone, especially for me, it's the kids.
Mm-hmm.
because what you impress upon them with your words, no matter what you do, it's there. And I'm sure that, Laurel, you have had experiences from your childhood, because that's where all the programming starts. Mine,
Mm-hmm.
where you hold on to whatever you're being told as your truth, because that's what you know.
100%. I mean, it speaks to developing base beliefs, which then get transmitted or transformed into mental processes. I mean, it's all about how we receive and then process, compute information to connect different dots together. A great example of this kind of energy that we're talking about here is like ideas. They get stuck in your head. So when you're a kid and you mom's busy in the kitchen and you're pulling at her to look at the mess you made, but it's art to you, and she turns around and is like, I don't have time for this right now, like dinner's boiling over at the moment. As a kid, it's like that, like, oh my gosh, mom, my art, mom doesn't care about my art. Like, that can be the jumping thought. Maybe that's not actually what was going on in that moment, but as a child, it's like those experiences, those words. If mom used the words like, I don't have time for you right now, I don't have time for your art right now, then it's like an association is made, a connection is made between like, mom doesn't like art, or mom doesn't like my art, or mom doesn't have time for my art, or art is a waste of time, right? Like, it could transform into a couple of different things that then become underlying beliefs in how we receive all feedback that filters back to us,
That's correct. Yes, that's correct. And my gosh, how much trauma we all carry from what we understood from our little perspective, our, little minds at that moment in time. Because as caretakers, our job is to keep our kids safe, to know that no matter what, they're protected and they can depend on us. And if you are resonating with this message, also understand that you got to give yourself grace, because
Mm-hmm.
you only can do the best you can with what you know how. And
Mm-hmm.
I have forgiven, my parents, my caretakers, when I really, really digested and understood this from like really the core of my being. Because saying the words, reading it out there, it being a cliche, it doesn't hit you, it doesn't resonate to your soul the way that it needs to. So with that being said, yes, give yourself grace, but when you know better, you need to do better. And
Mm-hmm.
especially when it comes to our kids.
Yeah.
Yep, they are, honestly, helpless beings. They're just really going off of their environment and what anyone is telling them. That's how they're forming their worldviews.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. 100%. They're like neural pathways are forming in alignment with that. And that is like what is really going on a lot. That's like a very high key undertone for that second week of June. We need to be very aware of the power of our words, the power of our messages, the power of our internal thought processes, and the power that our own thoughts hold over us, right? So like that is one of the key features of the second week of June. Then the third week kind of dives us into some emotional depth. So we were just kind of like hanging out in this like very intellectual, deep area. And then we have this kind of like tone shift come the third week of June, which is going to start to invite us to dive deeper into our kind of emotional security in a sense. So Mercury and Venus are going to enter Cancer, and we're going to become more attuned to our feelings and attuned to the feelings of other people, especially the people we care about or that we nurture or that care for us in some way, right? This is going to be a great time to nurture close relationships and focus on emotional connections. Heart-to-heart conversations and expressing care and appreciation will feel very natural. And you may even find yourself like becoming a little like extra protective of the people you care about, or really wanting to spend more time with the people who you feel really accepted by or that you're seeking to accept into your own life there. And then we have a full moon on the 21st, and this is going to be a full moon in Capricorn, which means think back to intentions that you set, things that were happening 6 months ago, because this full moon is the completion, or the, like, yeah, I guess we can call it a completion of that cycle. It's come into culmination. So full moons are periods of release. So this is a time where it's like we've come halfway through this journey that we started 6 months ago, that we set those intentions on. And then here at the full moons, we get this opportunity to kind of look and see how far we've come since 6 months ago and assess, well, what do we need to balance out here if we want to keep going? What do we need to maybe let go of if we want to keep going? What isn't serving us as we continue to fulfill those intentions, you know? So they tend to be really important moments for reflection. There tend to be more events that happen at full moons because things are panning out. Things are coming into culmination. We have a full view of things. So this full moon on June 21st is going to be a full moon in Capricorn, and it might bring a little tension between our dreams and reality. There is a little bit of a energy tied into this full moon that encourages us to like dream really big, but also like, let's be practical, let's be realistic, right? So it can highlight the balance to meet our aspirations with our like pragmatic responsibilities. This is a great opportunity to realign your plans with your true desires, ensuring that your dreams are both elevated and attainable. So it's kind of like a reality check moment, but still inviting you to like, no, keep dreaming big. Let's just make sure we got achievable goals here, you know? So like small steps. Let's assess the small steps we've been taking because they definitely carried us somewhere. But let's make sure we're all like ticked off our checklist on like what our next moves need to be moving forward.
I love that you said that, because I think that's what people really get wrong. And I don't even like the word manifest anymore because of, all the crap that's out there that's, just, I don't know, cliches, commercialized. I don't know what you want to call it, but there really is a tremendous power in creating your own reality. And like Laurel was saying, dream big, but your energy has to align with the vision of the future that you want for yourself. But if it's so damn big from where you're at, you, first of all, you're lying to yourself, and you take you wherever you go. So you cannot hide from yourself. If you think you're going to be a billionaire in 6 months and you are negative cash flow right now, that's already a big ass lie. Maybe if you said that you can pay off maybe $150, or this is maybe $1,500, that's big enough, but closer than a damn billion, then you are a hell of a lot closer energetically to that which you desire. And when you align energetically to that which you desire, that's when quantum leaps happen. And I have
100%.
experienced that in my life. Laurel, I'm sure working with this,
Definitely.
with your gifts, you have experienced that too. And for our audience here, that's exactly what I teach with my She Thrives Academy, is how to quantum leap yourself and your life, where you don't have to take years feeling stuck, feeling lost, afraid, because there is honestly no time to waste. The next second is not promised to anybody. We don't have a crystal ball. So with the best intentions, you can, project your life, but unless you take action, unless you incorporate what Laurel here is teaching us, then you're going to be at a very slow pace, which is fine if that's what you want. But personally, life is so damn short. I'm going to make sure I freaking ride the wheels off and make the most out of every single day. So why wouldn't I apply these principles?
Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more. And that's like the beautiful thing I think about recognizing the value of astrology. It lets you know when it's time to like really let go and dream big and take advantage of the limitless possibilities that might be around us, but also when it's time to like have a reality check, come back down to earth. Like, yeah, we want to have big dreams, but we also need to counterbalance that with our practical application. What is going to create long-term, lasting, enduring achievement for us, right? And so this is going to be a really great opportunity to touch base with that and really let go of any delusions you might have. Like we love a little delulu in the house, absolutely, but like let go of the things that are totally unrealistic, because we just need to take those small baby steps that are going to get us closer to where they are more within our reach and more within our grasp.
Right. I agree with that completely. And here's what came up for me as you were speaking on that. It's like you could have these, big dreams, big goals at the very top of your goal sheet. And then you have to take actionable steps and break it down. So, what is it going
Mm-hmm.
to look like, and work backwards? I'm all about working backwards. What's the big goal, and work backwards from there?
Absolutely. 100%. 100%. Okay, let's talk about this last week of June. So, this is kind of like a harmonious connections kind of vibe to it as we move off of that full moon in Capricorn. The final week of June brings a sense of harmony and stability to the scene. Emotional intelligence and practical wisdom are going to help us navigate any challenges that have been coming up with a little bit of grace, which we love for all of us.
Mm.
Relationships will benefit from an increased passion and harmony, making it a great time for deepening bonds and enjoying very meaningful connections. Cooperation and understanding come more easily, helping us to foster a supportive environment in both professional and personal life. So, as the month wraps up, it's going to be important to take time to reflect on your commitments and assure they again align with your long term goals. Saturn does station retrograde on June 30th, and that invites us to I think, like 5-month period of introspection, encouraging us to reassess our boundaries and our priorities. Also, Saturn retrograde periods, they happen every year. So, like, not a crazy, unexpected thing there, right? But I have noticed in my experience that they tend to be kind of like reaping periods where the hard work, the dedication, the discipline, the effort that we put in over the previous like 6 months or so kind of comes back to roost, and where we reap our rewards or our consequences of the moments when Saturn was not retrograde. So it's kind of like this like pause, rewind, zoop, where things we start to like see feedback from the efforts we've been putting in there. And so that time while Saturn is going to be in retrograde is going to be important for thoughtful reflection and adjustment, helping us to strengthen our foundations for future growth, for future stability, for future achievement, because we're kind of going to get our dues, if you will.
Okay. That I have a question. When you say Saturn's retrograde, that's different from a Mercury retrograde, right? Where like people
Correct.
in fear of Mercury retrograde, which I've read a lot of different things on that. You should not fear that.
Do
Actually,
not
just know
fear
what
the
it is.
retrograde.
Could you give us some, intel on like the difference is, and how to really just kind of like embrace when we
Yeah.
this retrograde? It doesn't have to be a scary event.
Correct. Absolutely. Retrogrades are nothing to fear. They happen all the freaking time in our solar system. I mean, the slow moving planets like Saturn, Jupiter, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, they retrograde like for months and months at a time, like clockwork. Every year, they spend like half of the year retrograde and half of the year not retrograde. And so when planets are retrograde, technically, what is happening is that from our viewpoint on Earth, if we were to look up at the planets in the sky, they appear to be moving backwards in the sky. But it's the same idea of like when you're going really fast on a highway and you look over and the car is going the opposite direction and they're going really fast on a highway, it actually makes it look like they're moving backwards. It's like an optical illusion that occurs from where we stand on Earth. And so the planets are not actually moving backwards. It's just from where we see them, they appear to be. And so the like energetic implications that seems to have is that when a planet appears retrograde from Earth, it's kind of this built-in moment in the universal clock where there's reflection and review and introspection and kind of going back over things
Mm.
that occurs, kind of an potentially internalizing of certain themes each planet has their own themes that they deal with. So a Mercury retrograde is going to be different than a Saturn retrograde because Mercury deals with communication, thoughts, mental processes, right? Like all these kind of Gemini things we've been talking about through most of the June forecast. But Saturn deals in time, effort, discipline, boundaries, achievement, hard work, right? So it's this built-in moment where we review, we reflect, we go back over our efforts in those areas. And again, kind of like helps us to course correct, to move forward again.
And I think also that's the power of journaling, like you had mentioned, because it allows you to have timestamps. How can you reflect back what it was 6 months from now when you can't even remember what you did 2 days ago? I mean, it happens to all of us. So having that, journal, you can look back, because I know that when I like to do this, fun thing where I'll flip through a page of one of my journals, and I'll just, wherever it stops, I'll read it. And my gosh, just the freaking changes from where I was writing at to where it could be 2 months. And Laurel, I'm telling you, I did that maybe a couple days ago, and just things that I was writing with where I was at as far as my fears of being in front of the camera and showing up. It was less than 5 months. And my gosh, I've been featured on Forbes since then. I was a contributor for Brains Magazine. Then I had several other features. I started a podcast. And it's like what I was able to accomplish in those 5 months when I made a decision to embody the person I need to be, to have this impact, the global impact. It is insane. And here's the thing, guys, don't get it twisted. The details is not up to you. You just need to have a clear vision of exactly what you want. Because if you don't know what you want, well, guess what? You're going to get a very unclear things of whatever that the universe is giving back to you, because life is a mirror and you're just projecting unclear things. You're going to get things that's very unclear back.
Absolutely. 100%. As within, so without. That's the name of the game.
That's the name of the game. And my gosh, please just take a good look at your life. If you don't believe me, if you don't believe Laurel, take an inventory and assessment and be very honest with yourself and where you're at in your life right now. And it'll tell you how you've been showing up.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And please.
And absolutely.
Yes. So Laurel, I mean, you've just given us such a great breakdown, recap. Can you give us maybe just like a month's overview, maybe 3 things from this, from, your expertise and wisdom for June?
Definitely. Do not sleep on any opportunities to socialize, to network, to connect, to exchange with people, whether that means like socially, like getting out there and meeting people, or if that means like sending resumes out, or making some kind of like call to the people in your life to collaborate with you in some way. This, especially the first like half of the month, is like absolutely stunning for connection and for really, again, spreading out your social networks and everything. Number 2, be mindful with your words. That's another big one. I think as we move into this portion of the year, which is basically Gemini season and then the beginning of Cancer season, we have this focus on communication and then a shifting focus into emotional connection, into emotional security. And so we want to be mindful with our words and how we are choosing to encourage the bonds that make us feel safe. How do we secure our feelings with the relationships that offer us a haven? So we want to be mindful of our words. And then towards the end of the month, I would say just really be open to observing. Be really open to the feedback that you start receiving over the next several months, because that is how you, again, like we were saying, can gauge okay, are my efforts paying off? What am I seeing change around me? What am I seeing myself kind of like receive? And how do I want to use this intuitively to help me like really bring in the structures, whether that's boundaries or whether that's like experts or whatever that looks like for you, bringing in the support systems to help you move through some of these changes, because we're in for a lot of change this not just this year but next year, the year after that too. So really taking a moment to like think about those solid structures, right? Pay attention to the solid structures you have in your life and if they need any tweaking.
This is beautiful. It's such a great recap of what to expect for June, what to look out for, and please really utilize all of the knowledge and wisdom and insight of the cosmos and Laurel into your daily lives and apply it if you are, a single parent, you're a divorced woman. There's so much here that you can absolutely harness and leverage and make the next 6 months the best you possibly can have with this. But we're coming back once a month. Laura will be here sharing her gifts at the beginning of each week for the month. That way, you guys can have it and to really capitalize on these astrological energies and cosmic updates from Laurel. And with that said, Laurel, thank you so much for being here, my friend. We
Thank
appreciate your
you.
gifts and speaking to our community. Until next time.
Absolutely. Thank you so, so much. And if you like to stay in the cosmic loop, y'all can find me at www.attunedalignment.com or at attuned alignment on Instagram. I'd be happy to go into how these cosmic currents are affecting your energy individually.
That's beautiful. And one last thing, too. Do you have any workshops? Are you working on anything that you'd like to mention for this
Yeah,
month?
actually, I am. Thank you so much for asking. Yes, I actually do have an upcoming workshop called The 12 Astrological Families Exploring Zodiacal Archetypes. And it's going to be a 2.5 hour master class. So we're just going to meet for 2.5 hours on Saturday, June 8th at 12 p.m. Eastern time. It's going to be virtual via Zoom. And we're going to dig into essentially the 12 archetypes that make up the cosmic tapestry, because there is such a important overlay between archetypal expressions, which are kind of like primary energy expressions, and astrology. It is a language of symbolism. And so we're going to dig deep into what are the 12 symbols represented in astrology. So it's perfect if you're new to astrology. It's perfect if you know a bit about astrology, because this is really about understanding the essentially like the vocabulary of the language that is astrology. So that's going to be on June 8th. And then I also host a monthly birth chart boot camp, which is a free virtual 4-day intensive experience I give to help people learn astrology, learn how to read and begin interpreting a birth chart. And so that's hosted monthly on the second Monday of every month. And my next one will be, I believe, June 10th.
Great. And everyone, all of Laurel's information and her workshop and all of her mastermind will be in the show notes. So please make sure you follow her and check it out. And with that being said, thank you so much for tuning in. And we will see you again next month here with Laurel.
Thank you. Bye.
That's it for this week. Thank you so much, Laurel, for guiding us through what the stars have in store. That way you can apply it in your own lives, especially during June 2024. And with that being said, as always, no matter where you're at in your journey, no matter how old you are, it gets better from here.